It is Eric Bowman.
Hi, Brian. The last time we talked to you, you said it's early when talking about all of the questions about your rotation and them being healthy at that point. Now that you've come through the spring, how do you evaluate where that group is at, considering all of the concerns and questions about the health going into the spring?
Yeah, I feel our rotation's in a good spot right now. We're starting with the group that I think you would have expected us to be starting, and they all got their work in and ready to be deployed. So I know Boney announced the rotations lineup as we start the season, and I think that's where we kind of expected it. If you asked in the wintertime, where do you think it would look like if everything played out properly without injury? I think that's how it would have been designed, and it kind of played out that way. So, so far as camp in terms of the starting rotations worked out well.
We can go next to Brendan Cuddy. Go ahead, Brendan.
Hey, Cash. During the game, Aaron Boone said that Aaron Judge feels under the weather, that I guess he's feeling some kind of sickness. Could you elaborate a little bit more on just what things have been like with him for the past day or two? And do you guys expect him ready for opening day?
I mean, not much more to add. I mean, just going through the normal spring training in the COVID environment. So, any little issue that's conveyed, you kind of react a little larger to. So we just sent them through all the protocols, and thankfully, we've eliminated all the stuff other than the fact that every now and then you can come up with not feeling really well. So, but no, he's fine. I've talked to him on the phone, and but thankfully, he's smart enough to share. Hey, I just didn't wake up feeling all that great, and over the last day or so, so you just run through the protocols to make sure you're not in a worse spot, and thankfully we're not. Yeah, the pollen down here in Florida is pretty bad at times, and it can get the best of any of us, and so he's not been the first one we've had to deal with that in camp, nor the last. But obviously, when someone like his name is expected to be in a lineup and then it's not, it's going to raise the appropriate questions and concerns, and so that's what we're dealing with.
Go to Marley Rivera. Marley, please unmute.
Hi, Cash. Just along those lines, if you would be so kind to give us an update on some of the injuries, if you have a timeline for Britton, like a surgery date for Voigt, and an update maybe on Justin Wilson.
You can repeat that question. I apologize. I could not hear from the feedback.
She's looking for injury updates. I think Wilson.
Okay.
Bad memory.
Thanks, Jason. I said if we have a timeline for Zach Britton, just an update on Voigt and his surgery, and then also on Justin Wilson, please.
Voigt's having surgery today in New York at HSS by Dr. Alchek. That's tonight. Justin Wilson is going to start the season on the DL. He's doing really well, but in terms of, it's one of those circumstances because he's a pitcher, we mapped out to properly now get him his bullpens, then his live sessions and stuff. It would bleed into the start of our season. Physically, he feels like he could go and doesn't want to be on the DL, but in terms of making sure that we, get him built or finished off properly, it just bleeds into the regular season. So we're not going to have opening day dictate. All right, he's got to be ready, and let's just have him on the roster, And so we had a lot of difficult conversations to make sure that we handle his return to play protocols properly and make sure he checks all the throwing boxes along the way, which includes several bullpen sessions and a couple live batting practice sessions prior to getting the all clear. So he's certainly going in the right direction. He did a bullpen today. He feels good, but unfortunately he's got a few more hurdles to clear, for us to feel comfortable in releasing him back into the wild. So he'll start the season on the DL retroactive. I'm not officially putting him on the DL by sharing that with you right now. It'll be done prior to, when the roster is due on opening day. But in terms of how he's feeling and how he's responded to the downtime, everything's checking out, which is good. And hopefully that continues as he finishes off, his spring training that was interrupted with the episode coming off the mound not too long ago. In terms of Zach Britton, I don't really have a time frame. I mean, we're certainly hoping to get him back, whether it's late May or June, I guess. But there's nothing. I know he's doing well. He's feeling well as he's going through his post-surgical physical therapy. But there's nothing more to add on him right now. And so that's Voigt, Britton, and Wilson. Anybody else?
We go next to Bruce Beck. Go ahead, Bruce.
Thank you. Hey, Cash, what's your biggest concern as opening day draws near? Is there anything that keeps you up at night?
Everything and anything, including getting your team vaccinated down the line at some point, and making sure everybody gets staggered out and properly vaccinated and feeling good from it, and then staying healthy on the field to play regardless, and winning your games, as many as you possibly can, as soon as you possibly can. So it's all the above. We want to have a great team on the field to play every time somebody watches us play, and we want to win as many possible games as you can, and then we want our fan base and the industry to be proud of the product that we're producing, despite everything that's going on in the time frame we're in. So we leave Tampa, I think, in a pretty good shape. Not with everybody we want to leave, but that's true of everybody in any camp. And we're excited to start the Major League season, and I know everybody's excited to get fans back into the stands throughout the country. It's an exciting time for the country to be opening back up again finally, and every week is better news, which is great.
Dan Martin, please unmute.
Ryan, do you have a final roster? And you just mentioned vaccines. Do you have a plan for how you guys are going to go about doing that with the team?
No, we're all, I'm not vaccinated yet. And I'd say most of our personnel are not player-wise or staff, because obviously the eligibility hasn't been there. And so, but it seems like every day or so there's a new lower bar, which is great. So we're just, patiently waiting for, those windows to be cleared and a runway to land on, so we can, deploy, like everybody else is. We're all waiting, and excited to clear that hurdle too, but we just have to wait our turn. So on the vaccination side, whenever they give us the green light, the medical staff, that's part of the state and local protocols, and then we'll start putting a game plan together and staggering it properly. But that hasn't happened yet. But we know those days are coming sooner than later, because things are opening up around the country, and that's great for everybody. The other question you had was, I'm sorry,
The roster.
I'll give you a few more. So Tyler Wade's on, and Michael King is on. I think that puts us at 25, and we have a 26th final decision that will be made here at some point, but probably not officially today. And but I think those are two more names that you didn't maybe officially have just yet. So you're a really tough reporter drilling down on that area.
Is there what's the last decision to be made?
Who's going to basically replace Wilson, on the roster?
Yeah.
Whenever he's officially DL'd.
Lindsay, you have the next question. Go ahead.
Hold on.
We got you.
Can you come back to me? I just forgot my question with a distraction. I can't believe that.
You got it. Joel Sherman, you have the next question.
Cash, number one, I like that you still call it the DL like I do. So you'll probably get fine.
I'm an old man.
Yeah, me too. Cash, one of the questions coming into this camp was if Gary Sanchez is still a legitimate number one catcher. Has anything happened in this camp to encourage you that that's what he is? What are you seeing essentially?
I see a player. He's coming in great shape. He's worked his tail off. You saw obviously a lot of, on the offensive side, you saw more results early in camp, less results late in camp. And on the defensive side, he's definitely worked his tail off. And I've heard a lot of positive reviews from our catching coach. And I think his receiving has been improved on that manner. And then you collapse that all into it's March and February, and what do you make of it regardless? So, when we made the commitment to bring him back and continue that investment, that was a statement that we believe and hope he can continue to be, a number one catcher in this game. And of course, obviously, especially with that bat. And so I think that the true test comes in the regular season when that plays out. So we're going to find out.
Thank you.
Sweeney Murdy, please unmute.
Brian, how does Corey Kluber's stuff graded out for you compared to maybe what it's been in previous years when he's healthy? What have you seen there?
He looks, very similar. Obviously, never got a chance to see as much rooms. Just saw him mostly from afar and limited scouting reports, limited video views, but not too dissimilar. Maybe a slight difference in velo right now, which is not unusual for his spring training norm. But he's come as advertised, kind of a silent assassin, goes about his business in a very professional, quiet way. So he looks good. He looks like he's going to help us. And so that was the hope, obviously, by signing him, and we'll just play it out. But so far, so good.
Because he hasn't pitched a lot the last couple of years, do you have questions about his durability for the season? Or by seeing him healthy and pitching well, is that somewhat answered for you?
No, I think the durability stuff is going to be a fair question that nobody really, it's a fair question to be asked of us and of them. And we have a collection of those. I mean, whether it's a Jameson Taillon, whether it's a Corey Kluber, whether it's, a Domingo Germán, because, he missed so much time, whomever and whatever. And even if you're a reliever coming off of a 60 game, COVID season where you only pitched, 18 innings, it's how are they going to be handling their workload as they approach 40 or 50 innings or what have you. So I think it's fair of everybody and anybody. Some maybe more than others, just because they're coming off of an injury or a Tommy John return or what have you. So, but bottom line is all we can ask for is, do they look like they're competing effectively and healthy at whatever stage of the game you're at? And the answer right now so far has been yes, and that's all we can ask for. And we believe and hope that there is going to be long-term contribution and health for them and therefore for us, but nothing's guaranteed. But we're going to do everything in our power to the best of our abilities to maintain that. Separately, let me throw out before I forget. So Derek Dietrich has agreed to go to our alternate camp. Chirinos has agreed also to stay along with us as well and be part of that alternate site as he comes back from his injury. We've released Julius Chassin as he's evaluating his choices per the mandate of his contract. I'm not sure if I have any more on that level, but I wanted to throw those to the group's way.
We go Ron Blum. Ron, go ahead.
Brian, I was going to ask on Chirinos, how long is he out, and does he need a pin or surgery, or is this like going to heal naturally?
Now, he had surgery. I can't tell you the date. I don't believe there's any hardware in there, but I'm sorry I can't give you that there is or isn't. I don't believe there is, but I could be wrong. I know he feels really good. Typically with bone issues, it's 4 to 6 weeks, but I know he's doing really well. But I don't have a time frame for him. Sorry.
So if it's 4 to 6,
I could have held back the Chirinos information.
No, but so sometime Mayish, you figure, if it's 4 to 6 weeks.
Hope so. Forgive me for not being on top of my game on that one.
Okay, thank you.
Lindsay Adler, did it come back for you? Yeah. Okay, Lindsay, go ahead.
I'm good now. It's quieter. I'm curious, last year I know that Giancarlo Stanton really started working with Eric Cressy. He started a new product or a new training program. what have you seen and sort of how have you seen him develop in the last year since starting that new routine?
I mean, I just know that when we can keep him on the field, he is, one of the scariest hitters in the game, and he's been able to stay on the field, obviously, throughout this spring. I know last year it got interrupted really early. I think game 2 of the season, we're in Dunedin when I got that phone call, but yeah, it's hard to say. I know he looks good, but he's the type of athlete that when he's playing, of course he's going to look good. When he's out on the field, he stands out. I know he's worked really hard. He's committed. He actually has responded well and to the training adjustments. I believe his communication within our staff has been that he feels it's really positively influencing, obviously, the ultimate outcome and the efforts that he's putting forth there. But he works his tail off. He's committed to it. Hopefully we'll have the payoff of blessed full season of health. We'll see. I don't know. But I know he cares about it. He's trying. He's working towards those goals. And we're going to, play it out. But it's a competitive sport regardless. And that makes, anytime anybody's taking the field, you're going to have that risk of an injury happening, whether you're a pitcher or a position player. And so hopefully we can ward off all those, keep them in the rear view mirror. But at the same time, recognizing that, it's 162 grind flying all over the country. He's a big man. And, maybe that might mean he's a little bit more susceptible or not, but we're going to do everything in our power, as is he, to keep him healthy so he can really impact that win column for us. Because when we are able to do that, he's a force to be reckoned with.
We can take the 4 questions in queue, and then we'll have Gary Sanchez in here. Bradford Davis, please unmute.
Hi, Brian. So there was a report out of Japan published on Saturday that mentioned one of the reasons that Masahiro Tanaka chose not to continue competing in the U.S. after his free agency ended with New York was because his family was concerned about, his safety in the United States, including mistreatment and violence against Asians in this country. So I say there's all the qualifications that this is an article that was written in Japanese. I don't speak the language. I didn't have a personal translator, so this is Google Translate. Disseminating this info back to me. But I was curious if the Yankees were aware of any issues or frictions within, Tampa or New York, where Tanaka or other players were treated poorly, due to their heritage or something.
I mean, obviously racism is not welcomed anywhere. And I feel horrible. Obviously, I have not had the article translated. I'm aware of the article that there was, he or his family, but his family is part of him, may have experienced, something. And so I can't speak to it because it's not that he shared that with me or therefore us. But obviously there's no place in this world for racism. And so it's heartbreaking to hear any of these stories that come out, whether you're within the game of baseball or outside the game of baseball. It's just, we need to, as a society, do a better job of making sure that that is unwelcomed in any walk of life. And so I'm sorry to hear about it, but I don't know the specifics to it.
Okay. And just to make sure I understand you, so Tanaka or you weren't informed of this situation. You just are learning from it through my question, or
no, I'm not aware of. Again, I haven't read the article, and Masahiro Tanaka nor his interpreter had shared that. Now, I did talk to Masahiro Tanaka personally when he left to go back to Japan, and thanked him for everything here. And we had a really good conversation. It was him and his interpreter, myself, and George Rose, and it was a very upbeat conversation about his time with the Yankees, and so it was time well spent. But none of that was shared by him to me during that basically a goodbye call and a thank you call for while he was here and what he did as a Yankee and what he meant to us on the field and off the field and in that clubhouse. But none of that was shared with me. No.
Right. Got you. Thank you so much.
We can go next to John Schwartz. John, please unmute.
Hey, Brian, obviously the guys right now are used to playing in front of fans down in spring training. What emotions are you expecting both from them and also really just from yourself on Thursday as you get to watch, Garrett make his debut and things like that in front of the New York fans?
Well, I know, I'm sure it's going to be as loud as it can possibly be, even though it's a smaller capacity, but it's been a long time coming. It's not too long, about a year ago, we were dealing with this shutdown, and now, the momentum of slowly opening up and expanding and having the fans in the stands. I mean, our players obviously played, I don't know the specific number of games off the top of my head last year in Yankee Stadium in front of nobody, but fake crowd noise. But to actually see movement in the stands and people reacting both positively and negatively to the play on the field, good or bad, for us or against us, it's going to be a welcome sight. And clearly, we're there, we're in it to win it. And we want anybody walking into the Yankee Stadium to have the most enjoyable experience and memories of a lifetime. I mean, baseball is part of our culture here in the United States, especially where, families bond and grow over our sport and our team, and we look forward to reconnecting those type of, experiences and building further memories. And obviously we, as an entire world, were denied obviously gatherings of any level over the past year. And so whether it's a sporting event, whether it's dinner, a future Broadway show, I mean, there's so many different things people want to get back to doing what they love, and thankful for those who found the vaccination and got the testing done and the medicals involved to put us in a position to get the world back to where it's supposed to be. And that includes a small competition between the Toronto Blue Jays and the New York Yankees starting Thursday at Yankee Stadium.
We'll go to Pete and Bob, and then we'll have Gary Sanchez. Pete Caldera, please unmute.
Ryan, to your thinking, was Mike Tauchman's place on this roster pretty much always secure, or did Jay Bruce provide a real impediment to his standing?
Tauchman was never leaving unless I found a deal that made sense for him to leave. So I dealt with his agent, was reaching out every now and then based on the rumors and a lot of clubs. And, Mike's, I think, provides a lot of value. I thought he had a rough 2020, and that was for a lot of reasons. It was a shortened season, so it's hard to judge anything on a small sample size. And his sample size was even smaller because obviously he wasn't starting every day. He had a little shoulder injury that I think affected him. So I think we've talked about all that publicly. He's an elite defender in left, center, and right. He puts together a quality at bat. He's got some pop from the left side. So I think he provides value. And so unless somebody, created an opportunity that made sense for us to consider, there was no place for him to go. And so the Luke Voigt injury put Jay Bruce on the roster. And I think, Jay Bruce is a player I've had a great deal of interest in over the course of time. I mean, he's been a real quality major league player for quite some time, and above average player for quite some time in the big leagues. So he's had an amazing career thus far that he can be proud of. And his makeup and clubhouse, presence, I think, is something I've learned also is really special. I'm talking about Jay Bruce right now. But the lane that got created for Jay Bruce on the roster was when Voigt's meniscus barked and now had to be addressed. And so otherwise, I did get a lot of phone calls on Tauchman, but that is routine. I've had a lot of calls on Tauchman every trade deadline and every winter, it seems like, since we got him. But clearly he's here because, whatever bell that needs to be rung has never been rung. So I was a little worried when I was watching yesterday. He blasted that foul ball off his shin, but thankfully he's good. So
Take a final one from Bob Clappish. Go ahead, Bob.
Hey, Cash, I just want to follow up on Pete's question. You're going to have a problem on your hands in 4 to 6 weeks if Bruce lights up, aren't you?
Let's hope so. I want him to light it up, and then we'll have more decisions to make. It's better have those decisions than trying to figure out, I've done the I called it the old Statue of Liberty play, where it's give me you're tired, you're poor, you're weak, you're hungry, whatever's on that sign at the Statue of Liberty, and you're scrambling for, you'll take anything, if you can put a uniform on it, and that's not a good spot to be in. And every now and then, when injuries have hit, or your rosters weren't as strong enough, or your system wasn't strong enough, you're in that spot. You don't want to be in that spot where you're desperately looking for anything,
Right.
even if it's not good enough. We have a 26-man roster right now, and I think we have more than 26 qualified people that could represent the New York Yankees on a daily basis, and that's a better place to be than the alternative.